Good day, Mr. Fanny. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you. How are you? Is it still
I'm
morning? Good
Yeah,
afternoon.
it's 1 minute before it becomes good afternoon.
Good
It's actually
afternoon.
almost afternoon now.
And me,
Well,
I'm
I'll,
leaving you
I'll
in good hands.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday Digital Youth Talk. Um, on today's topic is everything women, since we are still celebrating Women's Month, so it's only fair that we talk all things women. Um, and on today's topic, we are discussing women in entrepreneurship, how to thrive as a woman in business in a male dominated economy. I'm not alone though. I am also with my co host, Sissy Paul. Hello, Sissy Paul.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Mr. Fanny. We are so honored to have you today. Thank you for taking this time to be with us and share your story and insights.
thank you for having me. Thank you. Hi, ladies.
So today, oh, sorry, I'm still speaking. I was saying that today we are joined by the lovely Miss Tafeni, who is our lovely guest. How are you, Miss Tafeni?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good too. So, for those that don't know, Ms. Tafeni is the founding director and CEO of Olim Business Boutique. I hope I'm saying that right. Ms. Tafeni?
Hi. Yes, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I was saying that you are the director and CEO of Olim Business Boutique. So, I wanted to know if I was saying that right.
Yes, yes, that's right. It's correct.
Okay. Now, Olim Business Boutique is an integrated marketing communications agency that provides solutions and renders services to their clients. But I will let Ms. Tafeni explain a bit further about her business and about everything. So, Ms. Tafeni, can you tell us a bit about your journey as an individual and as a woman in entrepreneurship? How your journey has been and how it's going so far.
Okay, cool. All right. So my journey in business started at a very young age. As I'm sure a lot of people who have had experiences raised by umakul. So my business journey, because it was a business, irrespective of the fact that we were selling the ice bomb. I don't know what to call it besides the ice bomb. So my journey started there in terms of just having an idea of what sales is and establishing something. However, formally, um, I the business was conceived in 2015 and has been operating since then. Prior to that, though, we did also, or rather, I did. I'm so used to saying we because now we have a team. I was doing quite a few things in terms of business. 2012 was when I started in Johannesburg, where I established a business that did business development. So we brokered deals between um, for instance, an SME who wants to establish a relationship with a corporate. So that's something that we did. So we would just broker those deals. And so that was the first attempt that I made in business, and that was 2012. And then 2015, we started a consultancy which formalized that brokerage, if you call it. And that worked up until 2019. when we re-strategized, and 2020 we opened fully fledged as a integrated marketing communications agency. I must add that the integrated marketing communication services, so that being public relations, events management, marketing, were already services that we were offering. We started offering those services 2016, 2017. So yeah, we just 2020, in the wake of COVID actually, that's when we formalized that part of the business. We renamed to Olam Business Boutique, and we then did away with the business development services. So yeah, that's the journey. And then you ask, how's it been like as a woman? Hey,
Yes. Was it?
yay is all I can say for now. It's been it's been up and down. Business in its entirety is up and down, irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your race. However, being a woman and being a black woman as well, it has its own set of challenges.
Okay. So, how do you, as personally, how do you feel being a woman and occupying such a male-dominated space?
The one thing is the clients that we work with, because our core focus is in the tech space, STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and manufacturing. Um, and let me tell you, it's very, very male dominated. And the senior guys there are also very traditional in terms of their thinking, in terms of the ideas that they know. So when you come to them talking digital marketing, you come to them talking all these things, then for them it's like, hey, who's this girl? Who's this? So there's a lot of proving. You have to prove your worth. First of all, that just because I happen to be a woman entrepreneur, doing this digital whole thing, you have to prove your worth. It's a lot of that. It's quite difficult. Sometimes because yeah, abanye bantu, they're very set to their ways of doing things and they're not really interested. So there are those challenges. But with every challenge, there's a lesson. So you learn how to handle those people. You find their sweet spots. You find
Yeah.
those things that you can turn on to make sure that okay, at least they listen to what you're saying. So that's the thing. I think that's a nice thing about being a woman is that because by nature we are programmed to handle and deal with difficult situations, irrespective of where you come from and the circumstances. Because most as women, everything is thrown to us. Children raised by us, family issues they come to us. You know what I mean? So with
Yeah.
that, we always have to find ways around it, and that's the same thing that you do in business as well. You have to find ways around it. And yeah, normally people will say, "Hi, women are emotional in nature. People shouldn't see your emotions. Don't." Where they're trying to basically make you stone cold, which is something I fell for that. I was very stone cold for a few years. But I have learned that actually the feminine energy has a place in business too. It's how you use that feminine energy. So that's my outtake in this. Yeah.
I'm so glad that
Um,
you touched on. Oh, sorry. I was going to say that I'm so glad that you touched on how on the conforms of traditional gender roles, because I wanted to ask you that do you feel as though that there's pressure from you, from society, or from your family, or from your friends to um to conform to your traditional natural gender roles as a woman? Like, for example, can be to start a family, to be uh, a woman in the house. Do you get what
Hi, Yola. Can you repeat that last part? I caught the question, but just the last part, the example.
Oh, I was saying, for example, for you to be a woman that has a family, to be a warm mother, you know, that's what I mean.
Those are the challenges I was referring to. Those are the challenges exactly that I was referring to. Um, Being a woman in business is insanely difficult if you want to also maintain a traditional life,
Mm.
because you have to balance. And unfortunately, there is no balance. I don't know anyone who's managed to balance it, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with that person because every day is different, you know. So I know for myself, I had to choose not to have that traditional life, if you will, in terms of, you know, how it is, how we plan as girls. But by don't age, I'll be done with matric. By this age, I'll have graduated. By that age, I'm getting married. I'll have kids, and then I'll live happily ever after doing whatever it is. I did not envision that for myself. You know, I had none of those ideas. Obviously, the graduating and the school was top of mind. But then following that, for me, I just wanted to climb the corporate ladder. I was working at that time as a banker, so I just wanted to climb the ranks of banking to the highest point possible. And so being married and having children was nothing on my mind, was not on my mind. And so when I ventured into business, it had happened that I already had a child. And I just told myself that, you know what, this child and I were going to build this business together. And the traditional part of marriage and all of that, I chose not to. I chose not to do that simply because I knew that the goals that I had for myself, I would not be able to fulfill growing a family with someone who's going to have expectations of things that they want us to do together as a unit. So that was my choice. I do know some women who are in the space that I'm in, and others who are doing something totally different in terms of services, but who are doing it all. You know, they're married, they have children, they have in-laws, the trauma I'm not yet to deal with. um, so they've got that balance act going on. I opted out of the marriage part because think about it. I get I get to work after I've dropped off. Umdana is schooling at around 8:30, and I usually leave by 7 p.m., 9 p.m., 11 p.m., depending on what I'm working on, depending on whether or not I don't have any other engagements, meetings that normally happen after work. You know what I mean? And so, where is the husband in that equation? Because even with my son, I feel insanely guilty that I'm not at home. I'm not there helping with homework. Most days, some days I am, but on most days, I'm either in this meeting or that event that I'm organizing. And so I miss out on homework, I miss out on bedtime on some nights. And already his guilt is enough for me. Now, adding on a husband and other children, I don't see that happening for myself yet. No.
Okay. But do you feel though that there's pressure from outside coming in, or is it just something that you block so you don't even notice it?
I block it. I even block the people who try to say it. People like, hey, well, when are you having another child? I'm like, yeah, wait a minute, we're not there yet. You know what I mean? No, I block it. Not in a negative way. Ongathi I'm being standoffish. I just tell them that it's not part of my goals for now. Maybe one day, but right now, no.
Do you think that
No pressure allowed.
there's the same pressure from for men as well, or is it just a woman thing?
Oh no. You see, the thing with men is that traditionally over the years, over the generations, they've always had it easy when it comes to them going for their what do you call their ambitions and their goals, right? Whether it's a career, they always needed a woman who's going to be standing next to him, supporting him, cheering him on, ironing his shirt, helping him build his presentations for work or whatever it is. They've always had that support, and it's still the same way today. And so for them, the pressure of marriage and all of that, it's not really there. It's a if and when type of thing. If I want to get married, when I want to get married, they do it. Whereas with us, there is a bit of pressure only because of the biological clock. Unfortunately, that's something that we still have to deal with, whereby you have to, by a certain age, at least know that you've hatched your eggs and your babies are growing, because you don't want to be running after a toddler as a 50-year-old. Or I wouldn't want to be running after a toddler as a 50-year-old unless I'm their grandmother. So, so for men, it's slightly different. Although men today, obviously, they also now want to push their careers before getting married, because marriage is a commitment. You know, children are a commitment. They need you to be focused. They need you to give them that attention, and to make sure that the monies that you're making are directed to ensure that they have a happy life. So, yeah, I still maintain that men have it a bit more easier than we do.
Yes. I think Sisipa wanted to
Um,
ask.
Mr. Fanny, as you said, there are many challenges that women face when starting a business. Some often have less access to capital and resources, and they also face discrimination in workplaces. So, can you tell me about a specific time when you faced challenges and you wanted to give up? Like it was that hard that you wanted to let everything go, you wanted to give up and just
Anyone who's run a business will tell you that that happens every other week. I'm joking. Uh, but the challenges, they persist. You would think that, okay, I have these challenges now because I've just started. Nope, they will keep coming. So, the challenges that I faced earlier on in business was the lack of planning. So I thought that by making this decision to start a business, the clients were going to fall from the sky, and demand me to service them. Obviously not in that way, but I basically thought that it would be an easy journey. I did not plan on the difficulties that come with it, that there would be months without any money coming in, and you have bills to pay, you have rent, you have all these things that you need to take care of. And those, for me, that was the starting point where I was like, yeah, I did not plan for this, I did not anticipate this, I did not do enough research. And so that was the first difficult part, which then led on to that capital raising question that you raised, which on its own is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare where I'm sitting now, because you would think that after all these years, things would, at least, you know what I mean, be easier. However, it's still a headache. Um, it's still a headache. There's a lot of difficulties. Like, again, with the challenge of raising capital that happened prior to where I am now, I had to use what I had. You know what I mean? And people will tell you that you have to start now, which is true, and you use the resources that you have. So for me, fortunately, the establishment that I have does not need much in terms of equipment and stock. And so I was able to use my phone that I had, to use my existing computer that I already had. Um, Although it would have been lovely to use, faster equipment, faster laptops that I can process things quicker. But I used what I had to ensure that we are moving, and then get those things sometimes are taken away as well, because now you can't pay your cell phone contract with your teleco that you've entered a relationship with. And so then you lose your cell phone number. And now clients know you for using this number. Now you can't, like, now you change numbers. I remember at some point, I changed numbers so much that I also didn't even know the phone number that I was using. And one of my relatives, she was like, "Yeretu, this is like the fourth number that you're giving me. What exactly are you doing? What's going on here?" And I was like, "Man, if only you knew." If only you knew. So yeah, at least I've had this number now since 2018. So there's no switching and changing of phone numbers anymore. So yeah, those are some of the things that happen. Yeah, it's a lot, way too. Obviously, as a woman, unfortunately, there are other advances that women experience. I normally say I'm thankful that I've not yet experienced that, where for people to take you seriously or for you to get contracts. I know some people have had to have conversations which were very uncomfortable, and I am grateful that I have not experienced that yet.
So, how do you leverage your unique perspective and experience to your advantage?
How do I?
How do you leverage your unique perspective and experience to your advantage?
You see, that's the wonderful thing about being a millennial. We were teased a lot when people were trying to figure out millennials the same way they're teasing them at 2K now. So for me, I started off my career moving in and out different organizations, different industries. And that was a blessing. I always say that was as confusing as it is to someone who's looking at my CV. For me, that was my blessing because I got to experience a variety of industries. I mean, I worked in the fashion and apparel industry. I worked in banking. I've been in media. So that for me, and also I worked for a startup, an e-commerce startup. So that was the best because then, I got to be on the background of many things. I got to see how things operate. I got to do events for fashion shows and understand how relationships with suppliers work, knowing that sometimes a supplier says they'll arrive at 12 to set up and they come at 4 o'clock, how to handle all of that. So I leverage on that by tapping into those experiences. I need to go back to, okay, when this happened at that time, how did I respond? How would you respond better? And again, you have to always keep your ear on the ground, irrespective of the experience that you have. Because remember, the things that I learned 2012, 2011, times have changed. We are now in the digital age. We are in 4IR, 5IR era. And so much as we were taught, I was taught and I learned a lot of things. Now things are more tech centered. You know what I mean? Look at us having this webinar, this conversation here. Whereas 2011, we would have had to meet face to face, or it would have been in a video conferencing software tool of some sort. Now, today, we've got so many conferencing or video meeting programs, some which are free. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
leverage on my experience, but what I always do is keep my ear on the ground and find out what's happening now. That's another thing also that I leverage from my experiences that, I was taught to always know what's happening on the ground. It's not just about what you know, but it's what might possibly happen. So you always have to make room for anything that might happen that you have not planned for.
Okay. Do you think that, okay, the fact that we are having this conversation now, that entrepreneurship is male dominated, do you think there ever will be a time where we don't even need to have such conversations?
Yeah, and I'm going to need you to repeat that. And can I ask this, ladies, ne? Can we maybe switch off our cameras, Sisipo? Can you guys switch off your cameras so that we can help the bandwidth?
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so that I can help hear you properly. I'll keep mine on because I'm the guest.
Okay. I wanted to ask that, do you think that there ever will be a time where we as women won't even need to have such safe spaces where we can talk about how to overcome the challenges of being in a centric economy? Do you think they will ever reach that point?
I think there will be a time where it will not be as intense or there won't be such a focus on women. You know what I mean? Right now, I think what's currently happening is that we are bridging the gap. Look, women being part of corporate business, it's still a phenomenon. It's still something that's fairly new. I mean, we are in August, and you know that even in the 50s, women were marching for certain privileges. And then in the 60s and 70s is when they actually started getting into the workforce. So that also took some time for them to be taken seriously. And even then, their roles were only subjected to being a secretary, a clerk, or housekeeper, cleaner, whatever it is. So they never really got to have senior roles until later on, 80s, 90s, whatever. So I think because we're still bridging that gap, these conversations are still things that are going to go on at least for another decade or two. But what I will say is that the men of this generation in particular, um, are they're different. You know what I mean? These guys that we have, fortunately, in this generation are open, and they see us as equals, even though a lot of girls don't want to have that conversation. A lot of women don't want to have that equal conversation because it means now that we have to be equal in all respects. But it's a work in progress. But the spaces in which we operate now, fortunately, sometimes, I'll go into a boardroom, I'll go into a meeting, and I'm the only woman there, and I don't even feel it. I don't even feel like I'm the only woman there. I don't have to be raising my hand for my voice to be heard. Not that I ever did, but you know what I mean? Like the conversation flows. I get to say my points. They say their points. It's not a matter of, oh, wait, there's a woman in the room. Let's give her room to talk. So with time, we will not necessarily need to have these kind of engagements. But in the meantime, they are a necessity because our mothers, our grandmothers, in particular in the Black community, didn't have the opportunities that we have today. And therefore, the women who had those opportunities, who are giving us, who are sending the lift down, are the ones who at least are mentoring and are shaping and are guiding us on how to handle these spaces. And that's another wonderful thing about this generation's women is that we're holding each other's hand up, you know. And a lot of women are willing to mentor, are willing to give advice to young women coming up.
And that's very beautiful.
So, Miss Tafinine, so there are many amazing stories told about women who started their own business and found success. So, how can women entrepreneurs foster a sense of community and support each other?
It starts with understanding that the pie is big enough for all of us to have a bite. Ne?
Okay.
Yes, it's wonderful to be the only one who has done this and be celebrated as the only one who's done that and drives this car and wears these clothes and all of that. However, it's even better when it's a group of you. And so, especially, with the squad goals term. And so for me, I feel like success is success if all of us are enjoying a piece of the pie. Um, Sharing content, sharing ideas. Okanye, you don't necessarily have to share your idea because you still need to recognize that there are still people who have funny personalities out there. So we mustn't be oblivious to that fact. But I mean, having a community. I know I belong to a few women's circles, right? And in these women's circles, what we do is we meet over tea, over coffee, and we just talk. We're just sharing what we're going through at that period in time. We're sharing books that we need to read that will assist in mental and in um, development of any type. For instance, right now we are reading a leadership book. How to lead your team, how to lead yourself. So you have to be part of those communities because you can't do it alone. You genuinely can't do it alone. Working in silos is what drives people crazy. it's what causes it's what can cause anxiety and depression because when you are alone working in a silo, you think that the things that are happening to you are only unique to you. Whereas when you step out and you interact with other women in business, you realize, well, oh, she's also been repossessed. Okay, so this is not just me. You know what I mean? Oh, Oh, she also doesn't know what she's going to do with the kids over the holidays because she still needs to work, but the schools are closed. So then you get to be with people who understand what you're going through and who share ideas. Others will say, hi, there's a boot camp that I'm taking my child to. There's this and that. You know what I mean? That we can do for our children to interact. Bring your kids to my office tomorrow. Let's work at my office. You know what I mean? So be part of circles, be part of a network of women that support one another because there are many of those networks. It's just a matter of taking yourself out there. And I have to emphasize the importance of networking because you don't just find Ababandu by laying in your bed at home and wondering, like, okay, my Ababandu, where are these people? You have to go out there, leave the house, leave TikTok for a moment and socialize with people that you can see, touch, um, socialize with them because that's how you build your networks. The ladies that are in my network sessions, I've met through networking. You know, I met through attending industry events. We share business cards and then we meet out for coffee. Next thing, they invite you to something and you start building your group from there.
Yeah, you can't do it alone indeed. So, what resources or support system have been helpful for you as a woman entrepreneur?
Multiple. So I will have to share that again, the network for me has been the critical thing. That's my resource. I'm sure you've all heard the saying, your network is your net worth. And it's insanely true. So for me, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the people that I know. So the resources that is critical for me is the people. Through the people that I've met, they've introduced me to people. So the place in which now my business operates is at the Nelson Mandela Innovation Hub, which is one of the catalysts of entrepreneurship, ensuring that small businesses are catered for in the tech space, in the innovation space, by offering mentorship, access to non-financial support services, and an office space where you don't have to pay office rent, you don't have to pay phone, hey, you don't have to be paying to use the phone for printing and all of that. So that space, I was introduced to it by a person part of my community. So that's the resources that I've used. Um, Truly speaking, for me, I can't emphasize your network enough because even if I'm to say this is what I've used, it's because of who I know. So, yeah, those are the resources. I have not yet tapped into other resources that are available yet, some of the things that government offers. So I don't know yet how that one works, but I know for a fact for me, I've tapped into the people that I know in my community where I'll call them and I'll say, I've got this situation going on. How can you guys assist me or how can I tackle this? And then from there onwards, we make it happen.
Okay.
I want to ask, is there anything that government can do to assist women entrepreneurship?
Give us more money. Look, as a
Mm.
business owner, as a woman business owner in particular, we are thankful because look, the government, as much as I repeat, I've not tapped into these resources as of yet, but I do know of the government is making a lot of strides in supporting women-owned businesses. There's a lot of funding opportunities. There's a lot of mentorship opportunities that are out there. I do know, even with the NEF, National Empowerment Fund, they've got something for women. So I do know that they're doing a lot. It's just that they're not really known in terms of what it is that they're doing to support business owners. Um, and even, with them saying, OBE, a lot of these corporate businesses, in order to work with us, it has to be that the business is woman owned. So that also works to our advantage. And this is something that government is trying to ensure that businesses that are owned by women also have their stake in that pie that I mentioned earlier.
What can you
But for me,
tell?
I've not tapped into any of them, shame. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. What can you tell the woman at home that's sitting that wants to start that's not confident enough to start? Like, what advice would you give it?
So I'll start with three things, right? The first thing is, and just know why you're doing what you're doing, why you want to do what you want to do, because that's what's going to carry you through the difficult moments. You know, when your car is being repossessed, if you didn't, you know what I mean? If you have happen to have that experience, you need to know why. So the why is very important. Are you doing this because you're passionate about what you're doing? You're doing this because it's your way out of poverty, it's your way out of a domestic violence situation. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it because Chomiako looks good and she runs a business and you also want to look good and run a business too? What is it exactly that is leading you to say, I want to do it? Because that's the first thing, and that's the only thing that's really going to drive you, that and your passion. Then number two, you need to do your research. I told you that I didn't do enough research. I didn't plan enough, and it's very important that you do so, because your research and your planning are what are going to assist you in making your business a success, and it's what's going to give you confidence also. Because remember, when you step out there and you're talking to people and you're introducing yourself and you're introducing your business, you're doing so with a knowledge of what it is that you do. And with that research, it assists because then you will know what you're talking about. And that will also aid in that confidence, because now you'll be confident once because you know what you're talking about. And when you don't really have enough information, your confidence will be, it will take a there and there. And then as a third thing, once you've done these two things, plan, research, know your why. Do it. Do it. There'll never be a good enough time. Do it whether it's as a side hustle, do it whether it's as freelancing, do it whether or not you as a volunteer. Now I started off by volunteering first. I offered my services for free. I worked at multiple agencies, multiple companies, um, without getting a dime, a cent, 2009, right up until 2012. In fact, 2016, I also did a short stint as a volunteer, because that, when you do that, it gives you that confidence, because now you're in front of people, you're talking about this thing that you say you want to do, but you're doing it under somebody else's business, you know, and that will also give you that experience that you need for what you're doing. It will give you that experience to say, okay, I've done this for 2 years. I'm confident now to go and do it on my own.
Yes. Do
Okay.
you think that, do you think that there are any female dominated working spaces?
There are any female what? Sorry?
Female dominated working spaces where it's mostly women in that field.
There are industries now that have a saturation of women, but I'm not sure if they're dominated by women. A lot of women nowadays, you know, we are for our body, for our health, for our faces, our skin. And so they are dominating that space in terms of manufacturing skincare products that are targeted to African skin, the African climate. So there's a lot of women in that space, in hair care as well, you know, whether they're selling us wigs or they're talking to us about how to maintain our natural hair. So there are those industries that have a lot of women saturating that space, events as well, event decor, that space too. But I don't think there's one that I can say, now this one is dominated, it's predominantly women. Because even in those spaces, you still find men in there. You know, you still find men who are playing their role in those industries too.
The reason being I was asking that was for my second follow-up question. In those spaces, they are men as well. So do you think that women display the same prejudices that men do in their specific fields, or are we kind enough to let them be free within the field that we work in?
There'll always be prejudices when in any space, truly speaking. Because now imagine in the make. In fact, when you go to a hair salon, right, and you want to get your hair and your nails done, and you see a man at the counter, you're like, "Hey, okay, I'm not too sure about this gent doing my hair or my nails." So there'll always be those kind of doubts, irrespective of the gender, and in any space. The same thing with a woman who will go into an automotive space. Men are going to look at her sideways. So it's because of how we've been conditioned. We are conditioned to when you walk into this space, you're going to see this type of person, and when you don't see that type of person, you see someone different. You will start to wonder about, okay, will this person be able to do this thing that I need to be done, and will they be able to do it well? So yeah, it's just a matter of conditioning. It's a matter of, okay, let me give this guy a chance to do my nails. Mnangogo, the guy who does my eyelashes is, in fact, the person who does my eyelashes is a guy. You know what I mean? Because I gave him a chance and I've been happy with him ever since. And he's been doing my lashes since 2021.
Okay,
Um,
nice.
no,
Miss
you can continue.
Tiffany,
Yes.
some women find empowerment in their ability to be strong, independent, and self-sufficient. According to you, what are the strategies for empowerment, for women empowerment?
I support the ones that you mentioned now. Yeah. But I always say you really need support. You need support because you can be as self-sufficient as you want to be, but there will always be that level of, or that thing or that situation that needs you to be supported. um, you can be independent as much as you want to be, but again, you always need support. So for me, I always say, um, be independent, be empowered, be self-empowered, trust in yourself, listen to your advice, listen to your gut, but also have that circle of influential people. And I'm not talking influential in terms of their status in the world, but I'm talking now people who you trust, who've got your best interest at heart. And you have those people around you, whether it's your mother who's going to help you take care and raise your child while you're running and doing what you need to do, whether it's a good friend, you still need that good five friends. You still need those good five friends, guys. Your friend who, when you're going, like we are going, you're stressed up to capacity and you can't even think, who's going to make you laugh? Who's going to say, "Hi man, let's go out for coffee," just so that you can stop worrying and stressing. You know what I mean? So you need support. You need that person who's going to give you that 30 rand or 50 rand or however much you need to travel to your client meeting when you don't have money. So you need support. Empowered. There is a saying, again, I love these sayings because I like to read. There's another saying that says, empowered people empower people. So for me, women empowerment is having an empowered circle of people around you who are going to help you empower yourself so that you can then offload to the next set of people. So for women empowerment, for me, truly is having that committed circle of people around you who are going to give you 150 rand. I remember there was a time I had to travel to a client meeting and I didn't have money to travel, and I called up a friend and I was like, "Hey, can't be 50 rand. I need to go and attend this meeting." And not only did they give me the 50 rand that I asked for, they gave me 50 rand to come back because it was like a meeting and then we had to. You know what I mean? So that's my thoughts on
Yes.
that.
Well, okay, so do you think that women entrepreneurs should get a special support structure or institution that understand the needs and wants of women as they are fundamentally different from
Absolutely.
male entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If there could be a space, a center that caters to female entrepreneurs, because remember, some of us will come with children. Excuse me. So if there was a space where on days in which you have to bring your child to work, there's a space where they can work, perfect. Funding, again, funding is a critical thing. So if there's funds that are dedicated and understand that this this is a female entrepreneur, this is a female business owner who is guaranteed, almost guaranteed, I don't know the numbers or the stats around it, but is guaranteed to hire people. Um, Give them that funding, give them office spaces that are suitable to women. You wonder how suitable, but they need to be suitable still for women. Give us a little siesta room if possible, a space where if she comes in, she can take a nap because she's tired. She woke up at 5 o'clock, to do her morning routine, get the kids ready for school. Now she needs a nap so that she can start working again. We need those kind of centers, so that would be great. But I do maintain that yes, women do need that special support, that understanding from an institution that says this is a woman-owned business and this is how they need to be catered for. It's definitely needed.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
So, what
also
is the
glad that.
role of the private sector?
What's
You
the
can
role
go
of the
on,
private sector?
Yolanda. What is the role of the
No,
private sector in corporations in supporting women entrepreneurs?
Look, those guys, Shane. Now these are the guys that I can talk about. Like I said, with government, I can't say much. But here, I'm not sure how much time do we have for me to answer this question because we get a lot of support. We get a lot of support from the private sector. I feel like these were the first guys to pivot, to change with the times, to understand that women are now, owning businesses. So they onboard women into supplier programs where you go into a short stint of training in order to be a supplier in those organizations, and they'll let you, whatever service it is that you're offering, whatever product it is that you're offering. There's a lot of supplier development programs out there. I mean, big top retailers, a lot of their products now are being supplied by women, women-owned businesses. A lot of services, again, are also supplied by women-owned businesses. So those gents, those guys over there, they really know what's going on. And also, they too have their own funds that are available, that they partner with certain institutions to fund women-owned businesses, especially around this time of the year in August. There's this frenzy where everyone's supporting women, so they're really doing an awesome job in that regard. A lot of them. I would want to shout them out, but I'm not sure if I can. But there's a lot of really amazing private-owned businesses, private sector businesses that support women entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you. Nice.
okay. I'm seeing here by the chats that we have quite a few chats. I didn't expect for us to have such a lot of comments. So I would like for us to go through them and see maybe if you
Sure.
can answer in or comment on any. Um,
Okay.
Peace Ma'au says that women empowerment is a need for our country to go forward. We need to address the gender imbalances. She also says that I love the fact that the guest's profile is very diverse. You're a true hustler indeed. Iyong Amangulu says he's loving the topic. And Usandile Donjeni says, little by little, we are seeing a shift in the way the world works at and appreciates women, but the road to true gender equality remains long. Upis says again that I resonate with your words. The pie is big enough for all of us. Success is success when we all make it through. A good friend of mine usually says, pray for your friends to make it. Your fancy car alone cannot make a convoy. Onwaba says, with years of being an entrepreneur, is there a time or moment where you can pinpoint that gender bias and or stereotype has affected your business? How were you viewed or treated? If yes, how? So I guess that question's for you, Miss
Um, I'm
Miss
not too
Apiwe.
sure if it was. Yes, can you hear me,
Yes, I
Yola?
can hear you.
Okay. So I'm not too sure if it was
Yes.
my gender or my age. Remember when I started out, I was fairly young. I was 23 years old. So there was a time where I felt undermined. Um, I felt like, okay, they're not getting it. You know what I mean? They're not getting it, what I'm saying. And obviously, again, at that time, it was at the wake of social media management. So that was 2006, 14, 2015. And so how did that affect me? Look, I lost that business. We didn't get a deal. We never had a commitment from them. And so that was very frustrating. And obviously I've worked before, so I understood what it's like to be undermined. But being undermined as an employee hits differently to being undermined when you've got your own thing going. So, and funny enough, it was actually a woman. It was a woman and a man. And yeah, they just didn't get it. And that was very offensive to me. And I remember at that time I was really desperate for the sale. I needed them to commit so that I would be able to pay rent. So they did not commit. I lost that. And I therefore lost my place to stay. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was the unfortunate experience that I received through people who just couldn't understand what I had to say, whether or not it was because I was a woman or because I was young. I really don't know, but yeah, it happens. It happens. And I guess while we're on this topic, it's important as a female entrepreneur, in fact, as an entrepreneur, irrespective whether or not you're a woman or a man, or whatever you identify as, to always have a pipeline, a sales pipeline. At that time, I thought that this one particular client would be my saving grace. And so I only relied on them. I did not plan for others. I did not make space for others. I did not give more energy to finding other businesses and nurturing those relationships to ensure that my pipeline is good to secure me for a few months. I just had one client that listened, Oganya, one person that listened. And then from that person listening, I thought that, okay, there'll be the end all and be all. And so that was the experience I had to learn from that, is to always make sure that you've got a healthy pipeline and you're not focused on one client.
I'm just trying to
I think
check
the
if are
network
there
is
any.
bad. Can you hear me, Miss Tiffany?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
I
Miss
think also people
Tafeni.
are saying
Oh, I
something
was
as
saying
well.
that I think the also can we now go through the rest of the comments?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So Iyonga says that times have shifted a lot since South Africa has committed itself to equality. As a man working on a male dominated industry, I see an increase in women doing the same work, working the same hours as we do. I just wish that women would stay away from social media and focus more on the platforms the government has opened. Um, Peace says, as Black people, we need to get rid of the pull him down mentality. The sooner we come to realize that it's through collaboration that we can get far, the better. In business, we all basically leaning on each other, and from what our guest covered, she's an entrepreneur, infopreneur, and the emphasis of networking speaks to anyone that's gunning for success. Whether you're an intern, business owner, working 9 to 5, your network will get you far. Rub shoulders with like minded individuals and always seek and okay, that's it. Sisipo says your strength, wisdom, and determination are powerful tools for inspiring and empowering others. By lifting each other up, we create a ripple effect of positive change that transforms not only individual lives but entire communities. Let's continue to support, mentor, and celebrate each other's successes, showing the world the incredible heights women can reach when they unite and empower each other. Mato has a question for you. It says that do you feel you owe people that have helped you in the past, or do you feel that you owe them favors when you were on a come up?
No, I don't feel like I owe them favors. Um, no, I don't. I'm thankful to them, for the come up, and fortunately, they're still in my life, so the relationships have maintained, they've stayed intact. We still maintain good, healthy communication and friendships. These are the friends that I mentioned earlier who give you money, who give me money rather to go to things that I needed. But it's a friendship thing, izandla ziyagezana, you need one hand to wash your back. What do you call it? Scratch. I scratch my back, you scratch yours, type of thing, but in a friendly manner, in a good way. So I don't feel that I owe them anything, but I do know that if they ever came to me asking for help, I would also be able to help them. I would always be there to help. So no, I don't owe anyone favors.
Yes. Sisipo, is there anything you want to say before we close our?
I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to join us and share your insights. It was so inspiring to hear about your journey and learn about the challenges you faced of being a woman entrepreneur. I hope everyone who heard this story today feels more empowered and encouraged to follow their own dreams. Thank you so much, Mr. Femi.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for the wonderful insight that you have given us. And for the women sitting there at home that wants to start, I'm sure now they have an understanding or confidence that you've given them that this is the way to go. So thank you, Ms. Apiwe.
Absolutely. Thank you. Look, we need more female founders.
Yes.
We need more young people in this space. So the more of us there is, the merrier. Just do your research, know why you're doing this, and do it with openness and truthfulness, whilst there are shortcuts that can be taken, the what you call, the quicker you rise, the harder you fall type thing. So take
Yes.
your time. Don't be hasty for things to happen, because things will happen when they have to happen. Just ensure that you've got all your ducks in a row. You've planned. You attend courses and trainings, because those will also help you to ensure that you are upskilled. Because, like I said, what I learned 12 years ago is not as relevant today. So yeah, I'm happy to have assisted and shared my insights. I'm excited to see more women in this space, and I can't wait for the day where we are all entrepreneurs and we are not segmented by our gender. Well, okay, this is a female entrepreneur, this is a male entrepreneur, but we are all entrepreneurs and we are treated the same. But in the meantime, that does not has not happened. Keep making those funding available for female entrepreneurs.
I would also like to thank the viewers that were watching. Um, we shall meet again next time, same place. So goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.